Welcome everybody to RMAC Baseball Weekly. I am the media man, Jace Hinton. That's the RMAC Insider. Sir, how are you doing this week?
I'm great. Had a great weekend of RMAC baseball behind us. Another great one coming up, and excited to be here. Talk about the talent that we have, and get ready for this upcoming weekend.
Absolutely. Lots of baseball happened over the weekend. We're going to tell you all about it, and then we're going to preview this weekend's games. But first, let's go ahead. Let's show the standings in the RMAC currently. No surprise at the top, Colorado Mesa remains perfect in RMAC play, followed by Metro State Denver. Then UCCS, then Colorado School of Mines, Adams State, CSU Pueblo coming in. And then the Rangers of Regis, the Colorado Christian Cougars, and the Cowboys round out the standings in the RMAC. Is there anything that is surprising to you as we take a look at this?
I don't know about surprising. I fully expected to see Colorado Springs up there at the top this year, near the top. MSU Denver, they're playing good in RMAC play, and yeah, those top three were expected. Adams State at 5-7. I see them, quickly moving up in the standings as the season progresses. Here, they just looked impressive. The first part of the year here as it had some tough competition, and they played well. They played with them, and they're gonna be moving up here in no time. I think if there's anything surprising, it's Pueblo's record, and you know, kind of having that rough series against Mesa, and then splitting this weekend. Um, that's probably the surprise.
Yeah, definitely. I think Pueblo is a good point to point out. I think, like you said, they've played some tough competition. I think we're going to start to see them get into kind of I mean, it's never easy in the RMAC, but maybe an easier part of their schedule over the next couple weeks. Obviously, we'll preview the series this weekend with who they've got, but let's jump right into our first one. We're going to stay with the Thunderwolves. And oh, wait, we need to talk about rankings first.
Yeah, you bet we can talk about the rankings here. So
Yeah, let's talk about the rankings. Colorado Mesa comes in at number 3 here in this poll. Too high, too low, just right. What do you think?
I think it's actually pretty good. They're were number 3 last week. They're 3 this week. Um, they played Colorado Christian, and we'll take a look at how those games went. Considering some of those games and how they went, I'm not too surprised that they didn't increase in the rankings, but um, yeah, definitely they shouldn't decrease in the rankings. So yeah, I think 3 is pretty good at this point.
Yeah, Colorado Mesa remains the only RMAC team to sit in the rankings. Trying to see if there's anybody receiving votes. Is there anybody receiving votes in the top 25 in this poll?
None from the RMAC.
None from the RMAC.
I think it is interesting to note that Mesa does have one first place vote there that we
Yeah,
see. So yeah, they're solid. They're just a great team.
solid team up there in Grand Junction. So they come in at number 3 on those rankings
Yep, and that's
in
the
terms of.
National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association, and then we have the D2 baseball rankings.
Yep, and they come in at number 4 right there. So top 5 in both polls, no surprise. I feel like we're going to start to see those jump as they get deeper into the RMAC play here with a couple series coming up here in the RMAC.
I agree. I think it's just looking like a good season for Mesa, and I think when we start looking at that game against Colorado Christian, we'll see that they have to be on their game, every game, to avoid dropping one that they shouldn't, or just being surprised and taking a hit. But yeah, they're a team that could easily and definitely win out.
Yeah,
Of course,
absolutely.
you got college kids, and making sure that they're straight every game and ready for it. That's the challenge of any college coach.
Absolutely. So now we'll jump into last week and we'll go back to the Thunderwolves of CSU Pueblo. They took on the Regis Rangers. Biggest surprise you saw in this series overall?
Oh, I guess with this series, I mean, I think that the split was a surprise. I mean, here, Regis, the surprise to me. I mean, I think you called it with the split here. I mean, Regis kind of starts off quickly here, scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the first. Pueblo responds. Tyler Clements gets a high chopper to third. He beats out the throw, and Taeyoung Kim scores in the fourth. Regis up 4-2 here. But it's literally all Regis, from that point on. Mason Gruby hit a double down the left field line. Then in the top of the fifth, or excuse me, the bottom of the fifth, Regis Mason Pettingill hit a solo home run. Then that's followed up here by Ethan Wood hitting a RBI double into right. And Regis would ultimately score 8 runs in the bottom of the sixth. And in fact, they scored the last 13 runs of the game to win this one 16-2. I think the surprise here was I fully expected Pueblo to come out to make a statement in this series and in this first game, really getting pounced, 16-2, giving up 8 runs in the 6th inning alone. I guess it was, just surprising to me that Regis came out, took it to him, and Pueblo wasn't able to answer, respond right away.
Yeah, Regis wins the first game 16-2. You see the numbers there on the right for the Rangers. I mean, like you said, it was all Rangers in game 1 of the series. And I definitely, I thought, Pueblo was going to come out and play a little bit better, but Regis has been playing well lately. So the split was, I guess you could say surprising, but also something that you could have seen maybe coming. They get the split on this one, but now we'll go into game 2. We'll show you game 2 right quick.
You
Game
bet.
2 was a different story.
Yeah, it was. Tyler Clemens for Pueblo gets the Thunderwolves on the board first as he rips the ball into left field for an RBI double. Then the bottom half of the inning, Regis puts on a double steal. Wasn't able to get the play at second, but was able to get a throw out the runner at home. Regis then tied the game in the bottom of the first off of Ethan Wood RBI single, but Pueblo would bring in the next 7 runs. Kyle Miller, got the streak going in the top of the second with a 2-run home run over the left field wall. The 5th inning, Pueblo's Jimmy Pelletier contributed to that 7 unanswered runs with an RBI double down the left field line, bringing in Cooper Latino from second. Then even spanning into the top of the 7th, Pueblo would add 2 more runs off of Devin Alvarez's 2-run home run to left field here. That basically gives Pueblo the 10-3 win and evens up that series at 1-1. And I think probably the standout thing here is Pueblo's pitcher Frank Flores Jr. Just had a great game. 5 solid innings, only 2 earned runs, 4 Ks, helped them get that win and even the series.
Yeah, Pueblo turning around, getting the win. I mean, that's a good way to bounce back when you come off of a tough series and you're on a 5-game skid and you come out, you get a win. It's a good answer for a team like Pueblo who really needs to. They're gonna get their stride, and when they hit their stride, they're gonna be a dangerous team.
Yeah, that's right. I think if Pueblo would have lost this game, I think it would have been extremely demoralizing, for the team, especially I think they expected to win that game on Friday, and things just hadn't been going their way. And this was a huge win for them, just the morale and to get things going on the right track, no doubt.
Yeah, game 3 of the series was definitely another one of those that was a different story, but a high-scoring game nonetheless.
Yeah, and again, Pueblo jumped out to a big lead, scoring 9 runs in the top of the second inning, including 2 runs off that Dax Howard double to right field. Regis started coming back in the second. You have this 3-run double to right center by Bobo Inandoli. Regis will ultimately bring in 5 runs in that inning to cut that lead 9-5. But going into the top of the 5th, Pueblo's up 11-7, and Devin Alvarez makes it 13-7 with a 2-run double down the right field line. Regis gets one of the runs back in the bottom half of the inning when Iandoli hits into a ground out at first that brings in Hedrick from third. Then the top of the 6th, Pueblo added 4 more runs, 2 of which came off of a Dax Howard single to right. And the Thunderwolves take this one as well, this time by a score of 17-10.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to notice, like, This one was, 7-inning game because of the double headers, and really it's the crooked numbers in the fifth that made the difference. The crooked number of 9 for Pueblo, the crooked number of 5 for Regis. The sixth, Pueblo was able to score just 2 more runs than uh, the Rangers in the sixth, and 1 more than in the fifth. And that second inning is kind of what decided the whole game, was that 4-run lead that they were able to build to continue on that one to get the win 17-10.
Yeah, I mean the way that runs can get scored in the RMAC, obviously no team is ever out of it, but when you start getting big numbers up there on the scoreboard, it just kind of does a little something to the morale and the hope and expectation of that game. And but you know Regis, I mean they put up 10. I mean they didn't give up, and never expected them to do that. But yeah, unfortunately, you give up 17. It's pretty tough to win a game even when you score 10.
Yeah, game 4 though, that was the closest game of the series. Regis ended up taking it 5-4, but the runs really didn't start coming in until late.
Yeah, I mean, really the bottom of the fifth, Regis ties this game at 1 behind a George Smith solo shot over the left field fence, and the Thunderwolves take back lead in top of the sixth with a Devin Alvarez double to right center that brought in Logan Kelly from second. Going into the top of the seventh, Pueblo's Jimmy Pelletier hit a solo shot to left, giving the Thunderwolves a 4-1 lead. Regis tries to make a comeback here in the eighth. Uh, Basically they tied up behind a Aiden Harrison RBI single to left. Then Mason Gruby hit a huge, single back up the middle to bring in 2, and we have a tie game at 4-4. After 8. So then we're going to head into the bottom of the ninth and kind of have a wild finish here. Regis Linus Fleek scored on a heads-up play as the wild pitch got away from the catcher, and he comes in from third, basically to walk it off, giving the Rangers a 5-4 win and causing the series split.
Rangers get it on the walk-off wild pitch. I don't know if I've ever heard that one in my time, but walk-off wild pitch nonetheless. They get the win and 5-4, and that series goes down as a split. And I think, good momentum for the Rangers heading into this weekend. CSU Pueblo, they're going to have, some tough ones. We're going to see what happens here.
Yep. And, even with the loss for Pueblo here, I mean, Tyler Clements, he had a really good game, 7.1 innings pitched, gave up 4 earned runs over 7 innings. That's, not bad. And then 5 Ks go along with that. For Regis, I mean, Ethan Wood, he's just a stud. He had a series for Regis, and he's going to keep having, getting his throughout the season. And, Regis has, a team that can, obviously put up runs. They can also have some pitching that, kind of like I mentioned last week, I think they're going to settle in and really kind of start hitting their stride here. And, they're kind of like Pueblo. I expect them to be moving up into the conference standings as we start taking a look at them week after week here.
Yeah, we'll definitely start to see some jumps from the Regis Rangers. The next series we're going to talk about is going to be Colorado Mesa leading the RMAC. They went to Lakewood and took on the Colorado Christian Cougars. Game 1 was a very high-scoring game for the Mavericks offense.
It was an interesting game. Colorado Christian gave their redshirt sophomore Josh Lincoln, his first start of the season, and I'm not sure what all goes into, a decision to give a kid, the first start of the season against the number 3 team in the nation. But at the same time, I mean, he didn't back down. He was up there and he was giving it what he got, and got to respect that. And unfortunately, he get off to a rough start. He walked the first 2 batters, and Tate Blassie, and Colby Felix, which quite honestly probably isn't too bad of a strategy to do with those guys. Let them walk them so they're not hurting you too bad. The problem is Mesa's lineup is just ridiculous. I mean, you have to face Cameron Cartwright, and he comes up and he hits a 3-run home run to give them a 3-0 lead, right away. looking into the top of the second here, I mean, Cameron Cartwright, has us experiencing deja vu. Here he gets another 3-run home run, to right field, to increase that lead 9-4. And then Ezra Farmer follows up with a 2-run home run to right of his own. Kind of like I said, that's the problem here with Mesa and facing them is they just have powerful bats, throughout that lineup, 1-9. Bottom of the second, while Mesa's up 9-4, thinking they're probably gonna, start running away with this. Colorado Christian scored 3 runs behind Mason Hagel Pitt's 2-run home run, and but then kind of start going along here in the top of the fourth. Is starting to get out of hand. Top of the sixth, Nathan Cartwright, he's going to come up to the plate again, and this time, in the fourth, Cartwright comes up, and he has a solo shot, and that's his 3rd home run of the game. And it's only the 4th inning, and he's already got 3 home runs. In the 6th, Cartwright comes up, and he gets an RBI, gets his 8th one of the game on an RBI double. Then in the 7th, he got another RBI, to make it 9 for the game. I mean, just an unbelievable game for Cartwright, and but it was interesting. It didn't kind of start out how I think anyone expected, and even going into that after that second inning with a score of 9-7, it was kind of like, oh well, this is kind of interesting. Not kind of what you expected out of this game, but then from the 4th inning on, Mesa, really just took over and kind of imposed their will.
Yeah, and Cameron Cartwright, you talked about 5 for 5, 9 RBIs, scored 4 runs, double, and 3 bombs. I mean, we'll talk about the overall numbers a little bit later on here in this one, but Colorado Mesa gets the 22-9 win in the first game. However, the second game was a complete flip, bipolar opposite of what we saw in game 1.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the complete opposite. In the bottom of the second, Colorado Christian's Landry Ham doubles down the right field line, bringing Cade Lacey in the throw to the plate, a little late, not able to be handled. And, Colorado Christian goes up 1-0. In the bottom of the 4th, Joy Blank hits in single to right field, bring in Cartwright to tie the game at 1. Then Noah Neufeld stepped up to the plate and hit a single to the shortstop. He hustled down the line, beat the throw, and put Mesa up 2-1. In the bottom of the 4th, Cade Lacey then for Colorado Christian, he flies out to deep center field, deep enough for Nathan Menzen to tag up and score. So a score tied at 2 in the top of the last inning, the 7th inning. Mesa's Trevor Key hits a ground ball right back up the middle into center field, allowing Shane Crow to round third and score from second. Then in the bottom of the 7th, Colorado Christian's Landry Ham gets the rally started with a single to center. Ethan King, puts down a nice bunt. And I don't know if you saw that, but Sage Ferguson did an amazing job, scooping that ball and with his glove and throwing it out of his glove to the first baseman to get that out. And then, tying run at second, Ferguson then strikes out the last 2 batters, and Mesa gets that win 3-2.
Yeah, and Colorado Mesa gets the win 3-2, closer probably than most of the Mavericks would have wanted it to be, but they get the win, and a win's a win. No matter how pretty or ugly it is, it's a win.
That's right. And, I think one thing that can't be overlooked here is Colorado Christian starting pitcher, Brady Ritzman. 7 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 2 Ks. I mean, that's a great start, especially against the number 3 team in the nation. He had a game.
Yes, he did. In game 3 of this series, that's where we're at, was very similar to game 1. Colorado just kind of ran away with it.
Yeah, I mean, here Joy Blank gets things started off for Mason, top of the first with a 2-run double to center. Then in the top of the second, all everything Kobe Felix comes up and he just murders this one and hits it out of the park to left center, and he does his typical trot around the bases. We'll get used to seeing that throughout the year. He's just an amazing player. Bottom of the second, Colorado Christian's Cade Lacey hits one to left center and gets on his horse, and he slides into third with the RBI triple. Then going into the top of the third, Joey Blank is back up at the plate, and he hits a 2-run home run, nearly to the deepest part of the field. I mean, you can see that center fielder making that, arbitrary jump to, make it look good. But yeah, there is no doubt about that one. Then the top of the fourth, Mesa's leading 6-1. Landon Nunez, he hits one off the wall in right center, and he's showing off his speed as he's rounding second. He's going to slide into third with an RBI triple. Mesa just kind of kept things rolling. In top of the fifth, Ezra Farmer hit a ball nearly identical to Nunez off the center field wall, and Farmer then shows off his speed, and he's going to get into third with a 2 RBI triple. Then the bottom of the seventh, while down 16-1, Carl Christian's Taylor McLeod has a pretty cool moment here. Bases loaded, he steps up and he just hits one out over the left center field or over the left field fence for a grand slam. But ultimately Mesa takes this one 16-7.
Yeah, just a run in every inning with the exception of the seventh, which is too much for the Cougars to overcome, as the Mavericks take the 16-7 victory in that one. And I mean, in Colorado Mesa, they just keep swinging the bat, man. They just keep swinging, and when they do, the good things happen for the Mavericks.
That's right. And I think on the other side of that as well, look at their starting pitcher here, Jackson Eisenhower. Again, freshman coming in, he's 3-1. I mean, 4 innings in this game, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. I mean, this kid's a stud. I mean, he's going to be somebody that's going to be fun to watch for years to come here, and kind of help that Mesa ball club continue to be in that top 5 in the nation throughout his career.
Absolutely, and he gets Colorado Mesa gets the win, and obviously we'll talk about a little bit more about this in a moment. But Cameron Cartwright, he just continued to have a series in that one. This whole weekend, really, that this series belonged to Cameron Cartwright as we head into Game 4. Colorado Mesa will end up taking this one, but kind of run us through what happened.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to last game. Mesa jumped out on top early. This time, Landon Nunez hits a 3-run home run to get things going. Carl Christian then scored one in the bottom half of the inning, but we're going to look at the top of the second here, and Trevor T stepped up, and with Ezra Farmer on second, T doubled down the left field, to bring in Farmer. Then Joey Blank came out to the plate, and he followed up with a double of his own. This one to left center and bring in 2 to put Mesa up 7-1. Then going into the bottom of the fifth, Mesa has an 8-4 lead, but Colorado Christian's Luca Hinze is at the plate, and he hit a 2-run triple, to center field. Yeah, you can see the speed. I love these triples. A lot of triples in this series, and yeah, some of these guys, I mean, they're athletes. They're just impressive. Then looking at the, Gregory Randall here brings in another run on a single to right center, cutting Mesa's lead 8-6. But in the top of the 8th, with Shane Crow on first, Colby Felix comes up and he hits a triple into the right field corner. And Crow, with his speed, he comes all the way around and from first to score as Felix slides into third. Then the top of the 9th, Rocco DiFrancesco hits a no doubter. I mean, it's well over the left field fence, making it a 16-7 game. Yeah, Mesa, wins this one fairly comfortable, 16-11.
Colorado Mesa just continued, and Cameron Cartwright, you see him there. He was 2 for 6 in this one. He ends up winning Player of the Week. He had 11 hits and 11 RBIs and 14 at-bats, the double and the 3 home runs that you talked about in this one. Cameron Cartwright is the Player of the Week.
Yeah, and, Cartwright, Felix, I mean, they're players that could probably win Player of the Week, every week. They're just phenomenal players. Cartwright, yeah, that first game was impressive, like you pointed out, and yeah, I have a feeling we'll be seeing those guys as Player of the Week quite often here as we go throughout the season.
Yeah, and Colorado Mesa 1 through 9, they can just swing it all the way through. I mean, each guy has pop in that 1 through 9 order, no matter how deep Coach Hanks has to go into that lineup. The next series, though, we'll jump right into it. It was Metro State and the Colorado School of Mines Ore Diggers. Game 1, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean Metro, they came out kind of like we expect them to. They jump out to a big 4-run lead behind an Alec Martinez RBI double to left center. At top of the second, the Roadrunners bring in three more. Here we have a 2-run double to right center by Noah Wicks. Then going into the top of the fourth, Colorado Mines kind of starts to get things going, and they score 6 in that half inning. Two of which coming off of this single by Justin uh, Kubo Jury. Then going into the top of the sixth with a score at 7-6, MSU Denver's Blake Wilson hits a double off the left center. That brings in River Jackson to increase that lead to 8-6. Then Braden Orem hits a 3-run home run here to right field, making it an 11-6 game at this point. So going into then the top of the ninth, MSU Denver, they have the lead, but Michael Deese, he finishes off the scoring with a 2-run triple, off the left field wall, and MSU Denver is going to win this one 13-7.
Yeah, MSU Denver, that's one of those teams that as we get kind of deeper into the season, you're going to start to see be very competitive, especially if they make the tournament. They'll compete at a high level. Coach Strain and his boys up there in the Mile High City got things going. They go 13-7. Syverson, 6-inning pitch, 6 hits, 6 runs, 4 earned, 3 walks, 5 Ks. And the Roadrunners capture this game's victory in game 1.
Yeah, Syverson, he's looking impressive this year, 4-0 so far on the season. And, with MSU Denver, I mean, without a doubt, I expect them to, I mean, they'll obviously be making the conference tournament. It's a question of, are they going to be able to keep playing up to their potential like they have this series and they did at the beginning of the year to solidify, a spot into the national tournament for them. I think that, they're a team with a lot of talent. Yeah, I mean, Alec Martinez, he's having a year. Noah Wicks is playing great. Blake Wilson, Marcus Abelhausen. I mean, these guys, yeah, they're. You have a team like Mesa, in the conference, and Mesa gets a lot of the highlights. But MSU Denver, they're very potent in that lineup, and they got some pitchers as well that can, put together some games. So talk about getting into the tournament. Yeah, getting into that national tournament, they can make a lot of noise.
They definitely can. Game 2, however, was all Roadrunners in this one.
Yeah, I mean, get this going. Top of the first, Jared Swarbrick brings in 2 runs on a home run to center field, and you can see that flag, just whipping around out there in center. The wind was kind of blowing like crazy in this one, and the ball was, acting, in kind here. So then in the bottom of the first, Carl Mines, Jackson Babcock, great player, gets Mines on the board with an RBI single to center. And then top of the third, MSU Denver, adds to their lead with Marcus Abelhausen double to right field, which brings in Braden Orem. Going into the top of the third, bases loaded. Royce Van Dyne steps up to the plate and he clears the bases with a grand slam, over the right field wall. No doubter, just adding 4 more on to the scoreboard at that point. We then, get into the top of the third here, and Braden Orem brings in another run with this double to right center. And then, the doubles just keep coming for the Roadrunners. And, at the end of 3 here, they're up, 12-1. And it just, keeps going for the Roadrunners. And, Lions just didn't have an answer for them in this one. Basically all Roadrunners in this one. And they end up getting that win 17-3.
Yeah, and I think Babcock, you talked about him. He's a great player. I think he's one of those players that you're going to kind of start to see make some noise in the conference. I think he's one guy that you could start to see win Player of the Week awards if Colorado School of Mines can, stay in games. I think you're going to see Babcock. He's going to start to win some Player of the Week awards. I think he'll be an all-conference mention, if not all-conference player at the end of the year for Colorado School of Mines, without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Evan Bilter is going to be right there, as well as Brody Duval. All 3 of those guys are just great players. I mean, Tyler Easter, he's having a great season as well. But yeah, I mine's, they get the pitching, going and get settled in. They're a dangerous team. They got lots of talent, and this is kind of what makes the RMAC fun. Is like we can go through each one of these teams, and they all have talent, and they're all have their great players, and that's kind of like any given game. You never know what's going to happen here, but yeah, it's just fun watching these guys, and yeah, if Carl Mines can kind of get things on pace or get things in stride of how they want to be playing, they're going to be right there at that end of the season in the conference tournament and, trying to win that thing as well.
Yeah, Maltos Garcia goes 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts for the Roadrunners as they get the win in game 2. Game 3, though, it'd been all Roadrunners in the first 2. However, game 3, not the same story.
Right. Here, top of the first, River Jackson, he wastes no time getting the Roadrunners on the board as he hits a solo shot over the center field wall. But then we go into the bottom of the first, bases loaded, and Jackson Babcock comes up and, he hits one deep in the center, deep enough for the runner on third to tag and score to tie that game up at 1-1. Top of the third, River Jackson, he had a game. He had a series, River Jackson. He's up again. He hits a single in the center field, bringing in Brooks Rasmussen, regains the lead. Bottom of the fourth, Carl Mines, Tyler Hummel hits a solo shot over the left field, tie the game at 2-2. Then in the top of the seventh here, we're going to have Marcus Abelhausen. He hits a double to left center. River Jackson, once again, he's going to follow up here. He's going to hit a single, right up the middle. That's going to end up increasing the Roadrunners' lead here at 4-2. Then going into the bottom of the seventh inning, Carl Mines brings in a run off of an Evan Bilter single to center to cut that deficit 4-2. But it's 4-3. But it's all the Ore Diggers can bring across, so the Roadrunners win this one as well. This time by a slim margin of 4-3.
Yeah, Kaufman, he gets 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 Ks. Swan comes in, finishes the deal with 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and the Roadrunners get the 4-3 victory in this one. So the Roadrunners were going to ultimately win the series, but they weren't done yet in that one.
Yeah, and just quickly before we go into this last game here, I mean, Carl Mines pitcher Will Niles, 7 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 7 Ks. I mean, you can't ask much of a pitcher. I mean, much more. I mean, that's an impressive line, and he's an impressive pitcher. I mean, I think it's gonna be fun watching him throughout the season, and excited to see how he does. But yeah, that's a great start for him. Too bad he kind of came up on the short end of this one, but I think he's gonna have quite a few wins here before the season and his career is over.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As we head into game 4 of the series, this one again, the Roadrunners jumped out early and stayed ahead early.
Yeah, I mean, they scored the first 8 runs of this game. Yeah, I mean, at first there was a throw to second with his runner trying to steal, but the throw was kind of short hopped, allowing the River Jackson on third to come in. Then Royce Van Dyne, he follows up with a single to center. Then in the top of the third, we saw Blake Wilson here hit one up the middle. But Tyler Hummel was going to make a great play, but they couldn't turn it, unfortunately. But yeah, basically, Roadrunners had an 8-0 lead, going, into the fourth. In the bottom of the fourth, the Ore Diggers get things, try to get things going. Evan Bilter hits an RBI double to center. Jace Jackson Babcock, he follows up with the RBI double of his own to center field. But it's it's all Roadrunners from that point on. Alec Martinez hits a 2-run home run over the right field wall, and then River Jackson hits an RBI double down the right field line, and Roadrunners, they win this one. They complete that 4-game sweep, and they're sitting undefeated in RMAC play at this point.
Yeah, and that's a good start for the Roadrunners. We'll get to see a collision course between them and Colorado Mesa at some point this season. I think it's going to be one to watch for sure as
Yeah, I
they
think
get the series sweep 14-4 in game 4.
yeah, I mean MSU Denver playing Mesa or even Colorado Springs and Colorado Springs playing Mesa. I mean, we got three teams here that we're gonna have a lot of fun watching a couple series that are gonna be coming up here shortly.
Yeah, it'll be a collision course when those three teams all end up playing each other. As we head into game 4, the final game of what was in conference, there's one more series we'll talk about that was out of conference. The Mountain Lions and the Grizzlies. If I remember correctly, Mr. Insider, I believe I said this was going to be the series of the week.
Yes, you definitely did, and I can't say you were wrong. I mean, this was a great series. You know, Here, game one started off top of the first. UCCS's Bryce Peterson hits the solo shot. Then the second, Trevor Dale falls up with a solo shot of his own. Going into the bottom of the second, Adam State's Josh Parks. Uh, we're going to hear his name a lot, all year. He ties that game up with a two-run, home run to the deepest part of the park as it clears that center field wall. UCCS, however, has a big, fifth inning, scoring 5 runs, two of which came off the bat of Trevor Dale again, who hit a two-run home run. Or excuse me, who hit a home run, which is the second of the day. Making a 7-2 Colorado Springs. In the bottom of the fifth, Adam State comes back. Osaias Inihosa starts it off with an RBI double. Then in the bottom of the sixth, Adam State completes the comeback, tying it up at 7 with Osaias Inihosa hitting an RBI double again, this one to left center. So we go to the top of the seventh. UCCS's Tyler Genrich hits a double down the left field line, bringing in Brendan Killeen to give the Mountain Lions the lead, at 8-7. So now we go into the bottom of the eighth, which is quite possibly the most impressive part of this game. Adam State is at the plate, down one with 2 on and 1 out, and UCCS brings in redshirt sophomore pitcher Liam Whalen, who strikes out Osaias Inihosa looking, then strikes out Josh Parks swinging to get out of that jam. And, UCCS ends up winning this game 8-7. But yeah, how about Liam Whalen? I mean, striking out Inihosa and Parks to get out of a jam. I mean, that's clutch. I mean, that's pressure situation. And he just comes in and takes care of business. This is absolutely impressive.
And he gets the save on the day, 1 2/3, 1 hit, no runs, no earned runs, no walks, and the 3 strikeouts, as you mentioned. The Mountain Lions, they get this one 8-7. And game 2 of the series was another one that was high scoring. But UCCS, I mean, they were able to pull away on that one.
Yeah. And, I think last week I said what I expect out of this game is a lot of runs. And, that's what we saw. And this game was no exception. I think, Inihosa, he got the start again. I love to see that. Little rough, but, when you're playing in the RMAC, those numbers, that line isn't, out of the ordinary. But not only did he pitch, you can see, he went 3 for 5, 2 RBIs, hit 2 doubles. Josh Parks, like I said, just a stud. He went 2 for 5, 2 RBIs, a 2-run home run, and Christian Altamirano. I mean, that's a name that we haven't talked a whole lot about, but he is an amazing player, and he's going to, I have no doubt, going to be having a great season. We're going to be talking about him a lot, as the year goes on. And last week I mentioned, didn't talk a whole lot about Trevor Dale, but he's already has 2 Player of the Week awards. Went 2 for 5 in this game. A 2-run home run and a solo shot. We talk about Mesa and MSU Denver having some power in their lineups. MSU Denver and Adams State, they're right there as well. MSU Denver, UCCS with Bryce Peterson, Trevor Dale, and crew, and obviously Adams State with Inihosa and Parse and Altamirano, Pruitt. These are teams that can put up runs, and we're either going to see great pitchers somehow shutting these teams down, or more likely see a lot of runs being scored. But either way, watching these guys, it's going to be fun all year.
Yeah, nonetheless, we got game 2 of the series. This one, another one was just another high-scoring matchup.
Yeah, I mean, UCCS gets off to a big 6-0 lead. Here, Bryce Peterson, talk about him. He hits a RBI double to left field, and in the bottom of the second, Adam Stace, Austin Yee gets the Grizzlies on the scoreboard with an RBI double to left. So we go into the top of the third with bases loaded. Bryce Peterson comes to the plate. He gets hit by a pitch. Honestly, can't really argue with that approach when facing Peterson. I mean, I'd probably hit him too, so he doesn't hit one out, and only let him get one instead of four. Down 9-3 in the bottom of the fourth. Adam State, he's fighting back. Aiden Tauscher hits an RBI double to right to bring in one of the 4 runs that the Grizzlies scored that inning. In the top of the fifth, Mountain Lions come up to bat with a 9-7 lead, and James Harbison, increases that lead with a 2-run home run. And then that's followed up by Trevor Dale, who hits a solo shot. And that pair of home runs gives UCCS a 12-7 lead. So we go into the top of the sixth here, and UCCS adds a couple more runs, including a run on Brennan Colleen's RBI double to left field. And the Mountain Lions end up taking game 2 as well, this time by a score of 14-8.
Yeah, they get game 2's victory in this one. Ryder Mancuso goes 4 innings pitched, gives up 7 runs, 7 earned, 3 walks, 4 Ks, and 9 hits. And yeah, I mean, the Mountain Lions, they were able to get it and get the win here in this one. I mean, you thought these 2 games were high scoring? Yeah, just wait till we get to game 3.
You bet. Well, let's get to
Let's
it.
go to game 3. Game 3 was the highest scoring game of the series, probably of the weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was a wild one. I mean, the ball was just flying out of the yard. Adams State scored in the bottom of the first, taking an early 1-0 lead. But in the top of the second, UCCS took the lead on a pair of home runs. The first was by Brendan Colleen, who hit one well over the left field fence. And the second one by Tyler Genrich, who hits one over the fence here in right center. Going into the basically 3-3 after Adams State brought in 2 more runs in the bottom of the second. Then UCCS just kind of continued their assault on the ball. They score 8 runs in the top of the third. 2 runs off of Trevor Dale's home run to left center, then 2 more brought in by Tyler Genrich's second, home run of the game. So with a 10-3 lead going into the bottom of the third, kind of thinking, UCCS may be, running away with this, but Gunnar Martinez and Osaías Hinojosa had some other plans. With bases loaded, Gunnar Martinez stepped up to the plate, and he sent the ball flying over the center field wall for a grand slam. Then soon thereafter, in the same half inning, Osaías Hinojosa comes to the plate with bases loaded, and he hits one out. I mean, 2 grand slams for Adams State. If you want to try to get back in the game, 2 grand slams in a half inning, I mean, that's the way to get that accomplished. Going into, basically they scored 10 runs to take a 13-10 lead, in the bottom of the third. UCCS, though, I mean, they're not phased. They got, bats of their own. So top of the fourth, they retook the lead, scoring 6 runs. 3 came from Bryce Peterson, home run to left. Then the fifth, UCCS brought in an insurance run on a solo shot by Tyler Buckman. They're down 17-3 going to the bottom of the seventh in the 7th inning game. Grizzlies were, they're not about to give up. Isaiah Pruitt, he hit a solo shot to right center. Then Seth Recker followed up with a solo home run over the center field wall, cutting the Mountain Lion lead to just 2. Then Andrew Cararillo was able to bring in another run on a ground out to the shortstop. But unfortunately, that's for Adams State. That's kind of where their rally ended, and UCCS took this one 17-16.
Yeah, 33 total runs scored in this one. If you like offense, games 1, 2, and 3 of this series were for you. Yeah, without a doubt. If you like offense and if you like pitching, you probably closed your eyes.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you can't take a look at the picture on the screen here. You can see that the highlights are filled up top to bottom, and that goes along with the 17-16 win. One thing that shouldn't be overlooked here, Isaiah Pruitt. Hit for the cycle, 4 for 5. Just an impressive game. The Obviously Gunnar Martinez and Hinojosa both hitting grand slams in that half inning. I don't think I've ever seen that before. 2 grand slams and by the same team in the same inning.
No.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, games 1, 2, and 3 were all offense. However, game 4, if you were a pitcher, you like watching this one. If you're a hitter, you probably went to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, after the first 3 games, with being high scoring affairs, I mean, naturally, game 4 is going to be a pitcher's duel, right? I mean, who would have thought? UCCS's Trevor Dale started off the scoring top of the third with an RBI double to center. Brendan Colleen followed up with an RBI double down the right field line, giving them a 2-0 lead. After 3, the score would stay that way going into the top of the 7th when Trevor Dale hit an RBI triple down the right field line, to increase that lead. Then in the bottom half of the 7th, Gunnar Martinez got Adam State on the board with an RBI double down the left field line. But again, that's kind of where the Grizzlies, kind of sputtered, and that's all they were able to get. UCCS ends up winning this one as well, 3-2, and they get the series sweep.
Yeah, and I said this was going to be the series of the weekend, and yeah, it was a sweep, but it really was. I mean, close games all the way through, just not enough for Adam State to pull off a win in any of them. But nonetheless, I still think this one was the series of the week.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, if you're watching baseball, this was the series you wanted to watch. Every game had its dramatic events, and I mean, just captivating baseball. Hats off to both those teams.
Yeah, and something to mention, Garrick Erickson, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, no earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He was the pitcher of the week in the RMAC this week. Oh, there you go. There's your graphic. Garrett Erickson is the pitcher of the week. Well, that wraps up RMAC play, but there was a RMAC team that was playing out of conference this weekend. It was the New Mexico Highlands Cowboys. Just a rough one for the Cowboys in game 1, a 15-0 final in that one. Just a rough weekend for the Cowboys.
It really was. And, you go from Las Vegas, New Mexico up to, Kansas. It's going to be a tough trip for any team. And, too bad for New Mexico Highlands that this road trip had to come at the time that it did. I felt like coming into this series, they were really looking like they were kind of ready to turn, the corner and kind of, start getting some momentum and get going. But yeah, it was definitely a rough one for them. Just 3 hits in this first game, and the second game wasn't a whole lot better.
Yeah, rough for the Cowboys pitching it was in game 1, 2, and 3 for the Cowboys, as Emporia State was able to take games 1, 2, and 3. Highlighting this one, a couple doubles. However, game 4, Jimmy Welsher. Let me tell you something about Jimmy Welsher. Okay, I am at New Mexico Highlands University. I see this team a lot. And Jimmy Welsher coming into game 4 had 10 2/3 innings pitched. This game, he goes 8 innings pitched, gives up 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts. I know Jimmy. I'm very good friends with Jimmy. He was telling me, you know what? I'm going to turn the corner. You watch. I'll turn the corner. After that game, he texted me. He said, I'm back and I'm ready to go.
That's awesome. And yeah, you take a look at that score, 4-1. I mean, game 3, it was 13-1. Game 2 was 13-0. Game 1, 15-0. Yeah, Welsher coming in and, basically, I mean, having an amazing game. I mean, 8 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks. Yeah, that's impressive. Absolutely impressive, especially when you look at what Emporia State was able to do, those first 3 games. And, that's something that you need, and that's something that you can build off of, for New Mexico Highlands. It's somebody, like that, is having that confidence and, hopefully has that swagger of like, hey, I'm turning this around here, guys. Let's get this going and let's go. I mean, these guys they're collegiate athletes. They know how to win. They just need to get that mindset corrected and go out there and do what they do.
And do their thing. And yeah, he definitely said, I think I've got my swagger back, Jace. Here we go. So it'll be interesting to see how the Cowboys continue on. As we head into this weekend's games, we'll give you a preview of each one. and we'll kind of pick about how we feel about each one. We'll start off with Adams State and Metro State Denver. I see this one being a very, very good series up in the Mile High City, but I think Metro gets the series win.
I agree. And if we're talking about games of the week, our series of the week, this is it right here. Adams State and MSU Denver. I think we have two very potent lineups going against each other. I can see runs being scored in this one. It'll be interesting to see, though. I mean, I think Jake Iverson, he's been having a great season so far, 4-0 on the year at this point. And, at this point, Mesa, our MSU Denver's pitching, has the edge over Adams State's pitching. While both teams have great lineups, I think, MSU Denver's pitching is going to really kind of carry the day. And plus, with it being in Denver, I agree. I think MSU Denver takes this one. I think the question is really whether it's 3-1 or 4-game sweep. And I'm going to go with MSU Denver getting the 4-game sweep in this one.
Yeah, I think game one will be a pitcher's duel. You'll have Syverson against Hossa. I think that one's going to be a really good one. I think I could see 3-1, but I think I'm going to agree with you on this one. I could see it going 4-0. The next game of the series, not a lot of baseball on tap for the weekend. However, this is going to be a series I feel like we're going to be very interested in just because these are two teams looking to turn the corner.
Right. And, Colorado Christian, it's kind of like, 2 weeks ago or when New Mexico Highland was playing Mesa, and Highlands had a great, it wasn't a great series. They impressed me. I thought that they played Mesa well, and they were kind of playing above what I had seen them play in previous games that year, and felt like they were really making an improvement and kind of turning that corner. And Colorado Christian the same way this last weekend. I thought they played Mesa very well. There's some lopsided innings and stuff like that, but I mean they were there in a couple, and they impressed me. I think that this is a series where Pueblo, they have to show something here. I mean, this is not the start of the season that they expected, or really anyone expected. They have to be kind of chomping at the bit to go out there and just kind of, unload, just get the shackles off and really start playing Pueblo baseball. But they're not doing that at this point. And Colorado Christian, they have to be feeling, good about how they're playing after this last series. And, with that said, I still think with this being, in Pueblo, I think Pueblo takes this, but I think it's 3-1.
Yeah, I think these are two teams looking to turn the corner, but I agree. I think it goes 3-1 here in this one. These are two teams looking to turn the corner, so it's going to be a dogfight, and then you're going to be in for a dogfight if you're both of these teams with this one. But yeah, I think Pueblo's just got the upper hand. I think they get it 3-1.
And I am excited to watch Brady Reisman pitching for Colorado Christian again after the performance he had this last weekend. I think it's gonna be interesting. We'll see if Josh Lincoln, if he's gonna get his start then, second start of the season. I would hope so. I mean, you're gonna throw him out to the Wolves against Mesa, give him another shot against Pueblo, and let him keep fighting and gain some confidence. And I think he's gonna be a good pitcher.
Yeah, definitely. And we move across to the other side of the state of Colorado. Colorado Mesa takes on Colorado School of Mines. I'm just going to get this one out of the way. I think this is a 4-game sweep for the Mavericks.
Yeah, I think so too. Caleb Reuter, 2 weeks ago, RMAC pitcher of the week. This last weekend, kind of had an outing that I don't think anyone was, quite expecting. I think that he's going to have a great, outing in this series. I think also it's going to be fun watching. I'm hoping that I'm right in game 3 that we're going to see Will Niles against Jackson Eisenhower. Yeah, I think if Colorado Mines is going to get one, it might be that game. I think that could be potentially a low-scoring affair. Eisenhower and Niles are both great pitchers. Um, that was gonna be fun to watch on Saturday afternoon.
Definitely,
That could be
without a
the
doubt.
one game that could be potentially in question. But Mesa, they kind of like we were talking before we started here. I mean, they're the team that has the target on their back. They're going to get everybody's best game. They're the team that other teams are going to be judging and gauging how good they are
Yeah,
based off of. And if Mesa doesn't come out and ready for every game, they could get surprised here and get tripped up and lose a game or two and just kind of throw their national rankings out of whack. And but I know that they have bigger goals than just national rankings. But as a RMAC fan, it's fun to see that team in the top 3-4 in the nation. And but yeah, it's they got an impressive squad, and as long as they show up, I think they're gonna win. But yeah, I think they take this one 4-0.
yeah, just too much pitching and too much bats for Colorado Mesa that Colorado School of Mines will have to deal with. As we head into the final series of the weekend, it'll be the Cowboys headed to Colorado Springs, as we'll see this one right on the RMAC network up in Colorado Springs. I won't pick this one just because I'm biased, so I'm not going to pick this one. So this one's all you, sir.
Yeah, it's 4-0. I mean, I'm yeah, sorry Highlands. But yeah, the pitching for Colorado Springs is coming around. The bats have been there since day one, and they're going to continue to be there. I'm excited to watch Jimmy Welcher though. He had a great outing, and yeah, excited to see how he does in this one. Of course, Ramon Brion, he's a great pitcher. It's kind of a rough one this last weekend, but expect him to bounce back and continue to have a great season. And yeah, he's just fun to watch. So excited to watch this one. I obviously, think's a great pitcher, and he's gonna be starting off that series. Mancuso's, he's right there. He's good. Garrett Erickson, pitcher of the week. Jacob Brown 2-0. I mean, if you love baseball, if you even like baseball, I mean, the RMAC baseball is just a gift from the gods. So take advantage of it and soak it all in. It's gonna be a fun weekend.
Yeah, Brion's a grinder, man. He just, he goes out there. He just continues to throw. Joyce, Baltazar, Welsher, those starters that you got listed there, they're just grinders. And if the offense can back them up, it's going to be a fun series to watch out there in Colorado Springs.
Definitely, definitely.
So that's what we got for you on last week and coming up next week for the RMAC in terms of baseball.
Yeah, it's been fun so far, and looking forward to another great week. And now all this basketball stuff is kind of getting done and out of the way, so we can just focus on baseball exclusively. And it's fun. It's a good fun time of the year.
Absolutely. So there you go. There you have it. The RMAC baseball look ahead of the week. Got some good series, 4 series playing this weekend. You got Adams State, Metro, Colorado Christian Pueblo, Colorado School of Mines, Colorado Mesa, and then you've got Mexico Highlands and UCCS. Anything else you got for us, sir?
No, just want to thank you again for doing this with me. Couldn't do it without you. And yeah, just I think we're going to continue. I will continue to get better at this every time. I've been absolutely impressed with the work that you do, and just very grateful you're here helping me, man. I appreciate it.
I enjoy doing this stuff. This is what I love to do. If you guys are trying to hear me this weekend, we got some Highland softball here at home against Colorado State University Pueblo, the Thunderwolves and the Cowgirls. If you want to listen into your boy, that's the place to find it on the RMAG network. I guess we can sign off with this one. I'm the media man. That's the RMAC Insider. We thank you for joining us.